guys, we are back with more tour of Toor, and we are touring a Toor knife. What's this thing called?
This is the Krypteia,
All right, the Krypteia fixed blade,
or the coffin nail, as I like to call it.
the coffin nail. This thing is bad to the bone.
Comes in this cool box in classic Toor fashion, magnetic, opens up, gives you some details of the knife. Get the little cloth, some frog glue.
Yeah. But before we go in there, do us a favor. Help us with the knife manufacturers by liking, subscribing, and commenting. Helping us, you know what, take our channel to the next level so we can bring some cool reviews for you guys. So this is, might I say, this is the chunkiest chunk I've ever held.
And it doesn't come with a utility clip. That's extra.
Okay.
It's thick. It's as thick as that Becker BK2.
It's the thinnest slab of G10 I've ever seen on a knife because it is all steel.
Right. That they pretty much just gave it a little bit of G10 just to say it has.
Oh,
scales.
Got G10 scales. Yeah, good job for doing the lanyard hole.
And it's dual purpose. It's got some self-defense purpose there as
Yeah.
well. It's pretty sharp, that lanyard hole.
Yeah. Really dig the stonewash finish. I like the super dark, and then it's got like a heather gray with the G10 with a heather gray and the red.
Yeah,
this is amazing.
This is their new limited edition run of what's the name? The blood red.
It's fascinating. It has depth. It has.
It's kind of got a volcanic look to it.
Yeah, I totally see that. Very much like one of those video game character kind of feel, kind of games I don't play, but I see them advertised all the time. We'd love to sponsor our videos. We're sponsored by one of those little cell phone games. We'll act like we play it. But what a cool finish. This is a massive knife. It does not have a razor sharp edge.
It did not come with a razor sharp edge, which was a little disheartening.
It was,
but that's not a deal breaker. You can sharpen a knife.
Yeah, I can sharpen a knife. So I mean, if you're, and it is a bit of a coffin, it's a bit of a splinter of a knife, right? So it's going to take some effort to draw that bevel out. Because it doesn't have a real wide, knife profile. You kind of compare it to the SOCOM, and you can see it's like half the width of the SOCOM.
Yeah, it's certainly a dagger.
Yeah, it's certainly got that. It's weird because like you could thump on this all day long through whatever you want, and it is a triangular blade, so it's hard to make these things really sharp. I mean, I'll get it, but. Yeah, definitely didn't come as sharp as I would have liked. So.
No, me neither. But it's going to go through whatever you need it to.
Yeah, this is an extreme knife. So, all right,
it's a slab, guys.
It is. You'll see in the B-roll how slabby it is. All right, so Ergos. Yeah, Ergos are pretty doggone good. From a finishing standpoint, it's got some points and some edges.
Yeah.
So. There's a point here, here, kind of on this stuff. It's not perfectly finished, and it's not a full hand. It actually bites into the mitt there. I can't really bring, like OJ over here trying to put on the glove too soon. And so, it just doesn't have sort of that roundedness that people may want. But I will say that ergonomically is pretty good. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 for me just because of the size of everything.
Well, and
kind of like the RMJ, it's more blade than handle.
See, for me, it fits great in my hands.
No, that's a good point.
So it's really depending.
It does fit your mitt. Look at that.
Yeah, it depends on who's carrying it.
Yep. Too many years, too many curls for me.
For me, I'm going to say it's a 9 out of 10.
Cool.
It does have some points. I feel what you're talking about there.
I mean, your results are going to vary based on the size of your hand.
Right. And I will say, handling this,
extra large gloves.
I handled a Krypteia at Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and that's the first time that I held it, and I probably wouldn't have pulled the trigger if I hadn't have held it there. And I probably would have gotten one there, but I wanted direct from Toor, the Blood Red, which was a limited edition run.
That thing is amazing looking.
Yeah, it's really cool. So yeah, that's my score.
Awesome.
On a tactical.
Tactical. Let's see. There you go. So just under a 4-inch blade, almost 4 inches. And so that's tactical, baby. This is a tactical knife. Look how that profile is. It's kind of like an Ultratech. You know what I mean? How it
Yeah.
has that narrower kind of profile to it, but it's
It's
so thick. It's a bizarre knife to me because
it's why I
of
called it a
how
nail.
it is just something else. You could like throw this all day long. You're probably not going to break it. And that tip is severe. You could definitely jam this through a daggum car hood. Just
Yeah, it's
go through whatever you wanted to go through
it's
with a
definitely a
lot of
knife with a
confidence.
purpose.
It definitely is that's a hard use tactical knife. How weird. So
Which is, well, I guess that makes it a Warzone knife.
well with a fixed, yeah, that's a good point. With a fixed blade, it also comes down to the sheath for tactical, and so I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 because it is it's a break-in sheath is what I would call it. What that means is it's not perfectly. I mean, I have to put some effort in here. You're not probably going to draw that from the Utility. No, the Utility is going to really struggle with that.
No, I drew it from the Utility.
You did? Okay. So, but that's tight, right? It's right there on that line. But the good news is just break it in. Play with it and break it in. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't personally have a problem with that. The finish work on the SOCOM, what Microtech did to fix that problem was they gave you a thumb ramp that actually split the KYDEX apart, and it releases the knife with no tension. So everybody could learn a little bit from that. You can see that this is a pancake style is what it's called. It's where they fold it over and they sort of pancake the knife with it. And you can fix that. You can take a Dremel tool if you wanted to, but just working it back and forth. So it kind of lowers it on the tactical scale for me because it's not fast. And it's not McGregor fast.
Yeah. Well, I kind of disagree.
So 8 out of 10 for me.
I'm gonna go 10 out of 10. Yes, it is. It's tough to pull from the sheath, but as you said, you could break it in. However, if you're pulling this knife for self-defense, you're gonna yank on it. There's no babying it. I mean, you're gonna yank this sucker out, but the blade itself is a 10 out of 10 tactical knife. I mean, it is designed for one singular purpose. It's a coffin nail. I mean, it's going to go through whatever you put it in.
That's a fact. It is going to go through whatever.
But the more you work that sheath, the more it'll break in.
And the finish to that knife is so epic.
It really is.
The acid etch with the it almost looks like the G10 is acid etched. It's not, but it has the same look.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's a good.
It's an amazing finish. EDC.
So yeah, on the EDC.
Yeah, I don't even have to hold it. Probably a 5 out of 10 for me. It's big. It's heavy. Let's weigh the thing with the sheath real quick. Let's see what.
Now keep in mind the utility clip is added. You can get that direct from Toor.
But you're probably going to do something like that, right?
Right.
So yeah, just under 9 ounces. And so yeah, that slab is a slab, son. That weighs. The P-Sark weighs more than this that I have. My brass P-Sark weighs 10 ounces.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of knife, right?
Yeah, that really is.
It is. Because that P-Sark is the heaviest thing I've ever felt. It's ridiculous. But yeah, so there you go. That's for me. It's not really an EDC knife.
It's not. If you're carrying this knife, you're going to be carrying it for self-defense. I don't foresee you bringing this out to cut a piece of steak or a box. I mean, I could bring it out.
Now you make me want to cut a piece of
well, I could go through and cut a box with it just to use it, but this isn't a knife for that. This is a self-defense knife. I mean, it's made for everyday carry type personal protection. It's made for military use.
I'd be interested to see how that narrow wedge would work with splitting wood, and just to see if it would do some of those tasks where you're batoning with it.
Yeah.
Even though typically a camp knife is a taller, wider edge instead of that kind of nail splintery style edge.
Might be a good throwing knife.
It's so thick Yeah. It's not going to break. It's so thick that that wedge is pretty severe, which will make wood want to split apart, which is the advantage of that. So, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if it did that. So,
Yeah, and that takes us into the cool factor.
the cool factor. It's a cool knife, dude.
Yeah, it's super cool.
It's all the finish work is what makes it cool to me.
But I personally love the fact that it's that thick slab that is so narrow.
Yeah.
That's just really unique.
It is. Yeah, it's an 8 out of 10 for me on cool factor. It's up there. Once again,
Only 8?
Yep. It's. I mean, it's pretty cool. But for me, I don't prefer a blade shape quite like this for cool factor. But it is definitely a cool knife. Like what gets me on this more than anything is the finish. Thank you for doing an acid etch and really setting it off of the setting it off the G10. I think that is fire. And so yeah, definitely a cool knife for me. I like a wider knife, kind of like that RMJ or even the SOCOM. I don't care as much for that thinner knife. Just that's a personal preference thing, and that's what cool is all about.
Yeah. Well, 10 out of 10 for me.
Finally, we get something that's a little different from us. So there you go. It's just a very different philosophy.
I think the knife was cool to begin with. It was a knife that I was eyeing. But then when they had this limited run with the blood red, that just set it off for me. And obviously, it's something unique. Having these scales on this knife is going to make it stand out a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I love the shape personally. I think it adds to it. It's a very aggressive looking blade. Definitely militaristic. This is very similar to many daggers that are made for special operations.
You're right. It does have a lot of that trench knife feel to it.
It's got
which is designed to go in.
Right.
It is a stabby thing.
It kind of reminds me of the Winkler special operations knife. You know, just very.
It does have a bit of that feel.
It's a dagger. It's not a survival knife. It's not a bushcraft knife or anything of the sort. It's a dagger. It's made for one purpose.
And it's probably going to be the toughest of all.
That's true.
I don't think I've ever seen anything that thick and that serious. Do you know what the blade steel is?
Yeah, CPM S35 PN.
They use S35? Wow. Okay, cool. That's interesting.
Yeah, so 10 out of 10 for me on cool.
All right. Awesome. So overall, 7 out of 10 for me overall. I like it. I dig it. It is definitely a good knife. It's interesting they used S35 VN. I would have expected something else. Maybe even like, I mean, you can't expect anybody to use 5160 anymore, but, probably a variant of like a 1095 or, something like maybe a tool steel or something like that. But it's so thick. That's how they get away with using that high edge retention knife. Mm-hmm. Is it's so thick that you're probably not going to be able to break it easily. So there you go. So they can use S35 VN. So yeah, definitely a cool knife. I dig it. 7 out of 10 for me.
I don't know. I think overall for the full score, I think 7 out of 10 is a little low.
I'm sure you do. It apparently covered everything else. Yeah.
I think it at least earned an 8.
Cool.
So
there you
7 or 8, but we got to have one score.
We do have to have one score?
Yeah, for overall, that's one score.
There's a rule for that. We'll just agree to disagree.
We'll just say 7.5.
Okay.
Let us know, guys, what you think about the Krypteia, the look of it.
Yeah.
What do you think about the blade steel that they used?
It's super cool. I think that there's a lot of contradictory design elements in the blade, which will create camps of people who, the bushcrafty guys are going to struggle with it. The tactical guys are going to probably like it. It's thick when it could be thinner. It used S35 VN, which is really weird for a knife that you would think was designed to puncture. Mm-hmm. It's just an interesting contradiction, but a beautiful contradiction in terms. So I like the idea that they're doing something with a particular design that they chose, and they're not necessarily chasing down what other people are doing.
Yeah,
it is their design and their purpose. So maybe one day we'll get a chance to kind of get some of the idea behind S35 for the knife. But the other knives that we've had from Toor have been razor sharp. So that is the feedback I would give is, do a better job of sharpening the knife.
Yeah, especially for a fixed blade, because you never know, where somebody's at when they order something like this. And
that's a good point. If they're in theater and this is the knife they choose, or their knife that they're gifted in theater, you would hate to send something out in theater that has that doesn't have a good edge,
because it's very challenging to get a very, very, very razor sharp edge in theater. It's not there's not a whole lot of sharpening options. So
but overall, really good job on the knife. And I would imagine that, like every manufacturer, sharpness is going to vary a little bit knife per knife. And if you get one that you're not satisfied with, I'll bet you anything you can send it in and they'll probably get it right back out to you.
Oh, for sure.
Razor sharp or as sharp as it can be.
Yeah. And, and this is a knife I would suggest if you have the ability to get to a showroom where you can handle it, definitely get it and handle it, because as you saw, it doesn't really quite fit Greg's hands, but it fits my hands. So if you were to buy this and it didn't fit your hand, you would be disappointed. And it's not really to any fault of the knife.
No, it's built to a specific
right.
spec.
Right. Just like the RMJ or really any kind of fixed blade. So
not all of them are going to fit everybody the same.
Right. So. And that's the thing I would say about fixed blades is they're a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, we can all kind of interchange folding knives to a degree, because even a smaller one, we're willing to say, okay, the task is so simple that a small one. But when you talk about leverage, impact, fixed blade is all about hot spots and fitting the hand correctly.
Yes. Yeah. So
cool.
As always, guys, thanks for watching.
Yep.
We will catch you on the next one.
Yep.
And stay sharp.
Stay sharp.